This question of appointment to high offices is to us something more than a mere question of careers. This question is to us a question of national prestige and self-respect. One of the things against which we have to guard is that there should be no room, as far as it is humanly possible, for jobbery, nepotism, and favoritism. I think the provisions which we have introduced into our Constitution will be very helpful in this direction. India, a nation of over 1 billion people, an incomparable, almost bewildering diversity of cultures, of languages, of beliefs, and ways of life. The conflicts and contradictions, the aspirations and exuberance, the disappointments and distress, and above all, the opportunities and prospects of a vast and rapid transformation. The challenge of democratic government in a nation as large, as complex, and often as diverse as India is immense and is heightened by a constitutional mandate to go beyond the tasks of conventional administration to secure the welfare of the people. Managing the executive structure of governance in all its aspects requires men and women of outstanding intellectual caliber, moral fiber, and versatile abilities. The efficiency and effectiveness of government relies enormously on the competence, the sensitivity, and the integrity of the selection processes that identify these human resources in the higher public services of India. The task is immense. India has among the largest systems of higher education in the world, and the finest minds are to be drawn out of this enormous pool of talent. But this is not all. The imperatives of equity and social justice must be factored in. The creative and cultural diversity of the nation must be reflected in its administrative structure. Those who are to be appointed to serve the nation's destiny, drawn from widely disparate educational and economic backgrounds, must each possess the qualities of leadership, the strength of will, and the commitment that will be called upon again and again in the critical tasks allocated to them. The founding fathers of India's Constitution fully understood the criticality and the magnitude of the task of selecting the right people for the nation's senior executive cadres as it embarked on the enterprise of building a new and democratic order. The central services, including the civil services, the armed forces, and the extended paraphernalia of the government's developmental and public sectors, were to be the crucial pillars of strength and creativity on which the new order would rest. If success was to be secured, selection to these services had to be put beyond all kinds of partisan influence or pressure. Thus, with the promulgation of India's Constitution on January 26, 1950, the Union Public Service Commission was accorded constitutional status as an autonomous body, entirely outside the sphere of extraneous influence, and given the mandate to ensure the impartial selection of candidates to the highest executive institutions in the country. Its constitutional status excluded the possibility of any pressure being exercised over the selection processes. The UPSC now operates under the leadership of its chairman and 10 members, who are appointed by the President of India. The chairman and each of the members of the commission are professionals who have touched the pinnacles of their chosen fields and who are highly experienced in the task of interviewing and selection of candidates. Top advisors from all over the country with expertise in various specialized disciplines also assist the members of the commission in the interview and selection processes.
The biggest achievement is that by steadfastly adhering to the principles of justice, equity and fair play, which is the institutional strength of this commission, they have succeeded in inducting very high caliber officers into the services of the Union. This has helped not only in the overall development of the country, but also in maintaining its sovereignty and integrity.
This is the culmination of a long journey that began in October 1926, when the Imperial British administration established the first Public Service Commission of India. Under the Government of India Act of 1935, the Commission was reconstituted as a Federal Public Services Commission, with substantially augmented responsibilities. The Indian Constitution, however, was a significant break from the past. It embodied the hopes and aspirations of a free people and a resurgent nation. It placed new responsibilities on the UPSC to bridge the arduous distance between its offices at Delhi and the distant villages and towns in India's farthest states and union territories. To create cadres of public servants who were drawn squarely from among the people themselves, and to gear the steel frame of efficient administration to the tasks of nation building in an egalitarian and democratic order. India's educational system reflects enormous divergence and disparities. It is, on the one hand, an eclectic system, offering an enormous variety of subjects and specialities in professional courses, the sciences and the humanities. It is moreover a system in which great inequalities and inequities have survived, even after more than half a century of independence. And yet, it succeeds in discovering and nurturing extraordinary talent, even among the most underprivileged classes, and often under exceptional constraints. The challenge before the UPSC of independent India then was to break through the colonial stereotypes of officering the services, to cast its net wide, and to discover the talent that may be excluded by the simple fact of distance from the centers of governance. Clearly, this required a complete and radical transformation. The criteria for selection into the services had to be reassessed and redefined. A large number of new subjects were included in various qualifying examinations. Today, candidates can take the civil services examinations in English and 18 Indian languages, wiping out the elitist bias that placed inordinate emphasis on proficiency in English. Syllabi are continuously reviewed, not only to keep them at pace with our evolving understanding of various subjects and the demands of a rapidly changing world, but also to eliminate any systemic biases that may have survived. The UPSC's mandate under Article 320 and 321 of the Constitution of India includes the conduct of open competitive examinations for appointment to the All India and Central Services, conducting open competitive written examinations on behalf of the Ministry of Defence for recruitment to the Defence Services, advise the government on matters relating to the mode of recruitment to civil services and posts. Advise the government in framing and amending recruitment rules. Advise the government in appointments to civil services and posts and in promotions and transfers from one service to another. Advise the government in disciplinary cases against officers where the orders are to be passed by the President in case of central government employees and by the central or state government in case of officers of All India services. And advise the government on any matter referred to the Commission by the President of India. The civil services structure in India is the framework that holds the nation together. From the complex and varied tasks of administration across 28 states and 7 union territories, to the ministries and departments of the Union government in the North and South blocks at Delhi, the Indian Administrative Service provides the nation's executive leadership. The Indian Foreign Service creates the pool of career diplomats who represent the nation in countries and international fora across the world. The Indian Police Service is the backbone of India's law and order administration, and today grapples with tasks far beyond the conventional mandate of a civil police force, confronting organized terrorist movements and low-intensity wars in many theaters across the country. In addition, an array of other cadres carry the burden of revenue administration, the management of India's vast rail, communication and broadcasting networks, the audit and accounts of the administration, and the range of secretarial and executive duties that comprise the complex network of governance in a modern and dynamic democracy. Among the largest and most significant exercises carried out by the UPSC in the execution of its mandate is the conduct of the Civil Services Examination. The examination is conducted in 2 stages, the preliminary and the main. Hundreds of thousands of aspirants appear each year in the preliminary examination. The candidates who qualify in the preliminaries undergo a more rigorous assessment through the Civil Services main exam. The successful candidates are then interviewed by the personality test boards, comprising eminent experts from various fields, and presided over by members of the Commission.
It is the mother of all exams in India, one of the fairest and the toughest exams to clear.
About the disadvantaged and the rural people, I feel that we would do well to provide them with a little more opportunities as far as the preparation of the examination is concerned.
UPSC, I feel, is a fair institution in the sense that I come from Patna, which doesn't have a very good educational infrastructure, and I never dreamt of getting the 48th rank. Out here, I learnt my ropes in JNU, and then I appeared for the exams. And it's pretty obvious that a person from, a very moderate, modest background can make it.
As far as UPSC is concerned, it has made the selection process quite fair because first of all, they are giving you a choice of medium. You can take the exam in whichever language you are comfortable in. Suppose you've got a Hindi background, you can take the exam in Hindi. And also the examination fee is very minimal. So as such, the conditions of the exam are fair.
Well, there can be hardly any question regarding the fairness of the examination. It is a totally depersonalized process. The people appear on the basis of roll numbers. It is impossible for any of the examiners to know which number belongs to whom. And the result is, of course, that there is no possibility of any interference.
The officers selected through this process undergo rigorous training for over 2 years before they are assigned to sensitive and important charges in the major departments of civil governance, both in the states and at the center. The burden of the rule of law, the smooth functioning of government, and the efficient execution of the most important of developmental tasks rests substantially on the officers who are selected through this process. The UPSC carries out periodic reviews of the patterns of selection in the context of evolving structural transformations of society, of the processes of modernization, and currently of the liberalization and globalization of the economy. In view of the changes in the economy and society and the changing role of the civil administration at various levels, a committee of experts under the chairmanship of the eminent economist and educationist Professor Yogendra K. Alag has recently concluded of the effectiveness of the present selection processes. Two such reviews, the Kothari Committee of 1976 and the Satish Chandra Committee of 1988, were undertaken earlier. Officering a defense force with a diverse and dynamic role in nation building is another challenge that the UPSC has helped fulfill with extraordinary success. Safeguarding the highest standards of recruitment in the world's largest volunteer army, air force and navy through defense services examinations. These include the National Defense Academy and Naval Academy exam and the Combined Defense Services examination for admission to the Indian Military Academy, the Air Force Academy, the Naval Academy and the Officers Training Academy. The environment, a nation's forest and mineral wealth have acquired immense significance in modern sensibilities. The proper protection, management and conservation of the nation's mineral and forest wealth, its biodiversity and its water resources are immensely important tasks that fall within the responsibilities of the Indian Forest Service, the Geological Survey of India and the Central Groundwater Board. And these services are also selected by the UPSC through an annual examination. The role of governance in India extends to the efficient harnessing of the nation's vast natural resources, to catalyzing development and to the control of the commanding heights of the economy to create the necessary infrastructure that provides the opportunities and space for private entrepreneurship and economic growth. A range of specialized examinations and selection procedures have been established to ensure appropriate appointments at various levels. The Combined Engineering Services Examination, the Indian Economic and Statistical Services Examination, and the Combined Medical Services Examination are held every year. In addition, the Commission selects candidates through exhaustive processes of evaluation of service records and interviews for appointment and transfer in senior positions in various departments. The sheer volume of these responsibilities has been rising continuously since independence, and in the year 1999-2000 alone, the Commission conducted 14 examinations, received over 921,787 applications, interviewed 3,487 candidates, excluding defense services candidates, and recommended some 4,370 candidates for various posts, 1,813 in the civil and 2,557 in the defense services. The UPSC received 63,815 applications for recruitment by interview. After a process of detailed scrutiny, 4,648 candidates were interviewed and 1,095 of these were recommended for appointment. The UPSC also undertakes an increasing number of consultations in the framing and amendment of service rules and assessment of service records for promotions and transfer of officers on deputation. Under Article 320 of the Constitution, a large number of disciplinary cases, including appeals and memoranda by officials holding civil posts, are referred to the UPSC for tendering advice to the President of India. In order to ensure justice and equity, these cases are examined exhaustively by the Commission and a considered decision is arrived at on the basis of consensus. As its responsibilities expand, pressures on infrastructure and personnel have increased. And with the sanction of a new building, these are now due for a radical expansion. Equity and the elimination of historical biases and wrongs is an overriding priority in all these tasks and a guiding principle of the Commission's mandate. The Indian Constitution sanctions provisions for reservation of posts for various categories of the underprivileged castes and tribes, including the scheduled castes, the scheduled tribes, and the other backward classes. The highest priority is ascribed to making appointments to all posts reserved for these special categories. And the UPSC has gone to the extent of carrying out special recruitment drives to fill existing vacancies. The Commission has also taken proactive measures to ensure a level playing field for physically handicapped candidates. Apart from special facilities at examination centers for physically disabled candidates, the Commission makes arrangements for scribes for visually impaired candidates and also allows them extra time for writing the examination. Special facilities are also provided for hearing or speech impaired candidates during interviews.
Our selection process is designed to attract the best talents from all parts of our country, irrespective of caste, creed or sex, thereby ensuring a true all India representation. Over a period of time, the Commission has evolved its own norms and procedures which ensure absolute impartiality, fairness, transparency and equal opportunities to all sections of our society. The Commission has also made conscious efforts to fill up the vacancies reserved for the SC, ST, OBC and physically handicapped persons. Over a period of time, it is also encouraging to see that the representation of the female candidates into the civil services has increased appreciably.
Over the decades, the UPSC has established an enviable record of efficiency and innovation, creating and constantly improving systems to protect and improve the standards, integrity and efficiency of its selection processes. The adoption of the latest in information technologies has been the hallmark of the Commission's efforts to ensure the consistency, transparency and responsiveness of the system of competitive examination and assessment that it manages. The Scanning and Mechanized Processing of Examination and Recruitment Applications, or SAMPERA project, launched in October 1999, now assists in the processing of applications and conduct of all examinations, including the civil services preliminary examinations. Computerization of processes and records at the UPSC has also helped in setting up the Commission's own website and the immediate dissemination and availability of crucial information relating to various examinations and results through the Internet. The Union Public Service Commission has established an unbroken tradition of excellence. This is a dynamic tradition that at once embraces the imperatives of growth and even the possibilities of a reinvention of role and identity. The enabling provision in Article 321 of the Constitution provides for the extension of the jurisdiction of the UPSC to any local authority or other body corporate constituted by law. As the trend towards downsizing and corporatization in various critical areas of governance gathers force, there is potential to invoke this enabling provision so as to enlarge and redefine the role of the UPSC with respect to recruitment, selection, promotions, and disciplinary matters of such statutory bodies and corporations, including local authorities and public bodies under the administrative control of the government.
Every citizen can participate in the administration of this country, for which the UPSC provides a gateway. I would therefore call upon the youth of this country to make full use of the opportunities provided by the Commission and help us in inducting the best talents into the services of the Union. So come forward, compete, the country needs you all.
The continuous and accelerating revolution in the sciences, in information technology, and in the socio-economic scenario has created new demands for the officering of various services, new imperatives for the Commission to absorb and reflect emerging streams of expertise, and an expanding voyage into hitherto uncharted territories. As India gears itself to a future of rapid technological, social and economic transformation, and to the processes of liberalization and globalization, the Union Public Service Commission is fully equipped to meet the challenges and demands of an age of unprecedented change.